It's Thursday again. I think I've seen far too much of you two over the past week or so.
Have you recovered?
Yeah. It took me a while. Ben, you're still recovering now, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, it's it was a solid 3-dayer, and I feel like I'm just kind of coming off the back end of it now. If anyone caught my stream on Monday night, I was in the midst of my struggle during that. So yeah, but what a birthday! What a celebration! Good times with friends. And Marvel artists. What more can you ask for?
It was just great, wasn't it? I thought it was 4 hours and 20 minutes. I think it was.
But we are back to business as usual, guys.
Of course, we are. I do apologise for everyone about the top comment releases video this week. It's just weren't going to happen. There was so much going on. As you can see, I'm going through a bit of a renovation. It started with Mr. Perpetual down there. He renovated. Ben's got a grey room. Andy's got a grey room. I've got like a light grey room. So we're all kind of moving, doing stuff. It was all good. But yeah, top comment releases back again next week, full on. And we've got some new things to add to that as well, which I'll be talking to you about later.
Can you hear that? It's the internet crying that they didn't get the comic releases video this week.
See, this is
I did consider actually going back and re-energizing my YouTube channel and doing a parody for a one-off parody of the Monday new comics. But well,
do you know what? What's worse than listening to a Cockney accent go through about 50 covers? It's listening to a Scottish accent going through about 50 covers. Don't do it, Andy. The people, what have they done to deserve that?
All I need to say is decent 15 times.
Decent, amazing.
And clear your throat every now and then.
No, I've learned how to mute the mic now, so that probably won't happen. Oh my god, that's a clip of the week. Right, anyway, I'm getting into the chat because we've got 9 people that have joined us misfits to find out what we're talking about tonight. So first of all, we had Perpetual Comics. If you haven't already, smash that thumbs up and share this video with everyone who will listen. 650. We're nearly there. We're only 30 away. Fuzzy Dunlop. I say killer. I say comics. You say killer. Who else have we got? We have got you again. Welcome, Fuzzy. Make yourself comfortable. We've got Triple G, the man like Triple G. If there's 3 Gs we want in this place, it is this guy. If you ain't checked him out yet, head over to his YouTube channel. We've done a fantastic promo for our Killer Comics After Dark show. I still have nightmares. Him just popping up in my dreams going, killer, killer. Quite scary, isn't it?
That was quite scary.
Everyone's favourite Funko Poptimist, Mr. Poptimist UK. He's been very busy these last couple of days in the Funko Pop community. There is an event that's been happening yesterday and it kicked off again today. It is Funcom USA, California, I think it is. We touched on it on Saturday night. It's all been kicking off, but I know Darren got all the pops that he was after. A few other people on Instagram got that he wanted as well. So congratulations with that. We have
thank you so much to Dan for doing his thing on Saturday. It was much appreciated, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again.
I'm just going to blame John Boy Maris for keeping him sitting backstage for 2 hours because it's what happens on the Killer Comics. These guests come on, they don't want to leave. That's
the fifth member of Killer Comics.
Fifth member of the Killer Comics. It is John Boy. We've got Mr. Padawan Collector in. Thank you very much. Attention seeking geek, brace yourself. Fuzzy Dunlop, Wonderbar. Wunderbar. I was saying Wonderbra. There we go.
He's so cultured. Literally devil boy.
Leon Russell. We've got Mr. Dave Collects. Oh my god, these guys again. At least I'm not here defending a movie against everyone else. There we go. What's up, fellas, on the panel? And we have it's Mr. Comics Talk Weekly. Hello there, Mr. Philip. How are you doing, sir? So this week we're going to do things a little bit differently because normally
turn it on its head.
Yeah, you would think that we do have a 4th member, but again, he's gone somewhere. I don't know if he's had a jab.
He's like a legendary Pokemon. He's like Mew. Like every now and then.
I actually think he's at home wearing a Wonder Bra, holding up them massive biceps and muscles of his. But we are going to do something a bit differently because we've got a special guest coming on at the end of the show to touch on a fantastic comic. If you haven't read it already, you're going to need to read it because it's sensational, and Ben is pointing to that now. It is Made in Korea. We're 3 issues in. It's going to be fantastic, but we're going to do things a little bit differently because we've got quite a lot to cover. And I think without further ado, we should just jump straight into it. So up first, we have a Not Quite Mint, massive shout out. So he has Tom over at Not Quite Mint, a fantastic guy where we get all our comics from. He's got 3 quality crates out at the moment. We've got the Ultimate Fallout crate, which is £35 plus free postage. So each box will contain a facsimile of Ultimate Fallout 4, and you could be in the chance of winning a 9.6 CGC Venom 28 cal Engu variant cover.
Very nice.
We have the Not Quite Mint, the Slaughter crate to tie in with the House of Slaughter release. Each box will contain a copy of House of Slaughter issue number 1, and you could also be in with a chance of winning a 9.8 CGC Rise of the Valkyries Peach Momoko variant. And then we have, to tie in with the 10-year anniversary of Miles Morales, we have a £55 plus free postage. Now, this is 10 years celebrating Miles Morales. It's 18 books. And Tom did tell me that these 18 books are available in September, and then you get an added one free of charge on the 19th book in October. So for £55, that's a pretty decent price for a box crate. Fantastic. If you haven't picked up a crate, I definitely would get over to it. We've all had one. They're fantastic. We don't get paid to. They are great. They are absolutely great.
I've had two. Oh, they've both been absolutely fantastic.
They are awesome. They really, really are awesome. Now, so that is Not Quite Mint. We also do have, at the end of the show, we will be doing the Wheel of Names random generator for the guys that entered in on the Saturday show. We have 7 names. We will be going over that later, but stay tuned for the end of the show, and you could be in with a chance of winning the After Dark Killer Comics crate. So that's fantastic. That's the Not Quite Mint promo. I'm doing him a favour because
that's the plug out the way.
That's the plug out the way, isn't it? That is the plug. Let's get on to the real stuff. Let's get on to I can't get Mr. Bean out of my head. I can't get Mr. Bean out of my head with that.
Beep, beep.
I really can't. But as you guys know in the chat, we are on the road to Thought Bubble, and every week we will be covering a different aspect. We will be doing the creator spotlight. So last week we had Babs Tarr, but this week we have the fantastic, the very talented. It is Ram V, the fantastic Ram V.
Ram V.
I'll tell you what. Here, this guy is hard to pin down on the old Googles. I spent a whole 25 minutes trying to find some key information on this dude. But I think that what I can say is this guy lets his books speak for himself. And I actually found out what his full name is. Let me just attempt this, okay? He's with me, lads. It's Ram Narayan Venkatesan.
Nice, you committed.
I'm going to apologise.
It was good.
Apologise to Ram V if I butchered that. I really do apologise, but at least I gave it an attempt.
I'm not even going to attempt it. There's no point. No one wants to.
I think when I was searching, like sometimes Google would have it down as VRAM, and not Ram V. Did you come across that? And it really threw me for 6. And I was like, is this like some kind of variant, twin brother? What?
Who knows?
I was so confused.
Well, wait a minute. Can we just take a minute? Let's take a minute to appreciate that, how handsome he is, and look at those locks. I am well gel.
He's worth it.
But see, I had locks like that, and I didn't look half as good as that. So massive kudos to Ram V or VRAM.
VRAM,
VRAM. But if you guys don't know him, I'll just do a brief overview. So anyway, he's an author and comic book writer from Mumbai, India, currently living in London, UK. Award-winning author and creator of comics and graphic novels such as what's that say? I can't even read it. Such as Blue and Green, Black Mamba, and the Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which is an absolutely fantastic comic. She's died about 6 times so far, and each one has been different. Check it out if you can. Written for iconic titles and characters such as Batman, Catwoman, Justice League Dark, and Thor at Marvel and DC Comics. And he will, in November, be partnering with the fantastic Al Ewing for the new Venom run in November 2021. You can follow him over on Instagram at RamVWrites and also on Twitter with the Right Ram. What a great name.
No, it is absolutely superb. We've been trying to reach out to Ram V on a few occasions. We would love him to join us in the show, to have a chat, specifically in the build up to Thought Bubble. So if Ram V does see this, or somebody that's connected to Ram V, and or if he's seen us on social media, please get in touch. We would love to spend 20 minutes of your time just to talk comics.
It would be great.
Or if you contact the police, Ramvi, they'll get a restraining order and Andy for you, and it'll stop messaging.
I've got to say, Fuzzy Dunlop's
list.
Quote here: Ram 3 and Ram 4 were so good to be fair. Maybe they were. It was knockout. But I mean, Andy, you put together, you scoured the internet in the early hours of this afternoon, and you found some information on Ram V, didn't you?
Very, very little information, to be perfectly honest with you. I just like the most of the information that I found I knew about him already. Like, he's an award-winning author. He's done such things as you mentioned as Paradiso, These Savage Shores, Ruin of Thieves, and a lot of the stuff that he's done in the early days kind of went straight to graphic novel. So what I wanted to do is maybe just pick up some books that maybe people hadn't heard about. And the first one was Graffitis Wall. This was done by Anand RK, and this was back in 2018. I've had the pleasure of reading this story, and this is probably up there with one of my favourites. It all centres around a street artist who goes by the name of Graffiti, and basically lives in a place where all the old sort of styled houses, the old tenement houses, are all been taken down for these new super duper apartment blocks. But there's one apartment that doesn't have the walls sort of taken down, and he decides to start doing a mural of some of his friends. And as he's doing this mural of, I think it's 3 or 4 of his different friends, the book just goes into a deep dive into these different characters, and it's just fantastic. It's something completely new that I'd never read before, and I'm saying this is back in 2018, so this is when we didn't have the heyday of comics as we have it at the minute. And yes, you're absolutely right, Jeremy, he is a legend. You can drop him a text message for him and tell him to come on the show whenever he's free. That would be amazing. So yeah, definitely please do try and check out Graffitis Wall. As I say, it's just a trade. If you go on Amazon or any of your local comic shop, I'm sure you can still pick it up. I've put the ISBN number there because that's the service that Killer Comics offers, so I'm making it as easy as possible for you.
And for the guys like the Poptimist and Wakey Box and Fuzzy Dunlop, can you just confirm what an ISBN number is?
An ISBN number is it's like a reference number for books and graphic novels. So if you put it into Amazon, and if you even put it into Google, it will come up with all the list of shops that sells it. It's a little bit like your barcode on your comic book. So if you have your previews number or you have your diamond distribution number, it's a little bit like that.
Cool.
Basically, if you want to find really obscure shit, get the ISBN and you'll find it.
Go for it. So another one is obviously These Savage Shores. This looks interesting.
Yeah, this was the follow-up effectively to Graffitis Wall in 2018 that I remember back in the day. And These Savage Shores was a 5-issue miniseries from Ram V, and the artist was Sumit Kumar. It's stunning. This is actually the picture of the graphic novel, because they brought out a sort of deluxe version of it. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail because everybody can read here, but I'll just keep spitballing so everybody can read it word for word. But it's stunning. The comics are cheap enough to pick up on eBay, and it's one of those stories that I think is not largely known by a lot of the comic community because it's way back in 2019, but this is primed for like a TV show or a movie. I'm surprised there hasn't been one already, but again, If you're looking for books on Ram V just to see what sort of story writer that he is, you'll do better. You'll not do better than picking up these Savage Shores.
That's good. Yeah, I'm interested in that. And then this I read the premise of
My
this.
favourite.
This looks awesome.
Yeah, this is my favourite. I have that in my collection over here as well. This is amazing. This is absolutely fantastic. I've been bigging this book up for quite some time. This was my read of last year. And this again, it's Anand R.K. is the artist there. And this is more recent. This has gone back to last year that this came out. Again, it went straight to trade paperback or graphic novel, so it wasn't individual issues. But if you go to your LCS, you should be able to pick it up. So it all centers around, I'll read it here. So the dark and haunting portrayal of a young musician's pursuit of creative genius, the monstrous nature of which threatens to consume him, and as it did his predecessor half a century ago. Blue and Green is an exploration of ambitions, expectations, and the horrific depths of the spiraling pursuit.
When writers they seem to work good with certain artists. Like Ram V has done quite a lot with Anand R.K. They kind of have a really good partnership as well. I mean, even on some of the comics that he's done, he's kind of worked with Anand R.K. and it seems to like. I think this is definitely one I'm going to pick up. Like even the covers intrigue me, the premise of it and everything.
Yeah. I would highly recommend it. I've just noticed Jeremy's put a comment in there saying some of the greatest hair in the game. I'm assuming he isn't talking about me and Ben.
This is coming from a guy, Jeremy Holt, who has some amazing hair. This is fantastic. Imagine Jeremy Holt and Ram V.
Maybe that's where fantastic comic book creators get their power. Like the longer their hair is, the finer quality the writing is.
Don't cut your hair, Jeremy or Randy.
Which is why Andy and I don't write books. I'm not that familiar with Ram V, to be honest, guys. I'm very new to him. My kind of jumping on point to Ram V has been The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, and I've been absolutely blown away by that book. I think it's completely original. I think it's thought-provoking and really quite kind of profound. It's immediately sold me on anything that he's done before or is going to do. And I'm like fully on board for him doing Venom and having a stab at some of the Marvel stuff there. So yeah, have you read any of the has he done some one-off stories for Thor and things like that? Have you read any of that?
I don't know if he has. I don't believe that he has, but I'm sure somebody
Charlie just made that up in the intro.
Has he?
Did you have an intro, Charlie? Where'd you get that from?
No, what intro? I didn't have an intro. I had the
on the original slide. Says,
it says
League Dark and Thor at Marvel.
So this was taken off of like a comic like profiling website, isn't it? Yeah, for Wikipedia. Yeah, but I mean, he's done Batman Secret Files. This was available in League of Comic Books, Paradiso, and Layla Starr as well. So yeah,
his Catwoman and Justice League Dark stuff was fantastic. I didn't even know that he'd done some Thor stuff, so I will definitely be going to check that out.
Because I'm going to literally after this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's the perfect writer for Thor, I'd say.
But this is the comic that he's done so far. So obviously, Layla Starr is sensational. Boom Studios again, killing it. If you haven't picked up this story, guys, and you're thinking of like a kind of a jump on point for indie stories, pick up some of these Ram V stories. Pick up Layla Starr. It's amazing. Like issues 1 and 2, yeah, it can be a bit tedious after the same thing kind of happens. But issue 3 and 4, it's great. It really is something different. It's a great story.
I think Layla Starr as a trade, again, it seems to be a speciality around V's, but I think a collective story, if you can just sit down and read all of the Layla Starr issues, I think the sum of all its parts will kind of blow your mind. It's a little bit like Haha we mentioned previously. It's like they're all really good individually, but if you read them collectively, it's a different thing.
So is he writing on Dylan Venom or Eddie Venom?
Well, from the cover,
that's the Dylan one with chains, isn't it?
Yeah, I assume this is taken. I assume this is taken from the end.
Yeah, that's the Venom 1 cover for the new series that's starting with Ram V and Al Yung.
And this is similar. This is
yeah.
the end of 35 where he jumps off the building with the chains. So I can only assume that we're now getting Dylan's story. If anyone in the chat does have any more information on that, do let us know. Hi to, I think, obviously ABZ Comics has joined us. Jeremy Holt has joined us. And we also have Hydra Collectibles as well. So thank you very much for
the saviour.
The saviour of...
Hey, he was on the sub bench and he was... ready and waiting. He had his shorts off and on it in minutes.
Whoa,
please
finish that sentence. Please finish that sentence.
Did a great job.
But so I'm very much looking forward to the Venom run. I mean, it's a tall order to follow. Let's be honest. Donny Cates done some sensational stuff with Venom, but change is good. Change is always good. So
I'm going to call it here, guys, right here, and you can quote me on this whenever we get 5 issues deep to the new Venom run. I think the new Venom run is going to be better than Donny's run.
Claims. I am looking forward to Dylan Venom. I think that's the more interesting story for me at the moment. Like, I think it's intriguing, the whole kind of almost like Eddie kind of reaching this godlike status, but I definitely think the sort of Dylan story and the characters as well, the way the symbiote is protecting Dylan in a way that it never really protected Eddie, and I think it's going to be really interesting. So guys, what are you taking to Thought Bubble to get signed by the man himself?
I will be taking...
I've got my number 1, baby. Layla Starr, number 1, shiny.
Oh, hold on a minute. Who's this?
Hello.
Oi.
He's jumped on.
I'm sorry, I'm late. I have had my second jab and I felt fucking awful, so apologies.
Well,
you know what, guys? I stood in front of the mirror and I said Tom Malin 4 times, and I didn't know whether it worked, and he's here now, so it worked.
Yeah,
Tom,
like the Candyman, mate.
Welcome. We was just literally, you've probably just been watching backstage, but we was just talking about like what we're going to be taking to Thought Bubble. I'm going to be taking Layla Starr 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to be taking... I'm going to be getting this one. I'm going to have to get this one. I'm going to get that one because that looks awesome just for him to sign. But I'm really looking forward to having him sign stuff. It's going to be great.
I'm just looking forward to having like a quick chat and finding out what his plans are and stuff like that. And you can do that at Thought Bubble. That's the great thing about it is like you don't need to worry about not having access to these guys. So.
Would it be frowned upon for us to take contracts to Thought Bubble for creators to sign to say that they'll come on the show? How would that go down? I think that's right.
I don't see why not. I just want to give a quick shout out. I just want to give a quick shout out to the House of the Nerd Show. I think this is the first time we've had the House of Nerd Show on the Killer Comic Show. Massive thank you for joining. Thank you. Sit back, relax, grab a beverage. You're in for a rock and roll of a time. So you are in for something. So thanks for joining. It's good. But I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be, Thought Bubble's going to be awesome. This is...
So we've had Babstar and we've had Ram V.
Who
will we have next week?
Who will we have next week? That's going to be interesting.
Well, something we will have next week that I can announce is we are going to get a fresh perspective around Thought Bubble, and it will be the perspective of someone who works there, someone who has been part of the volunteering team for the last sort of 5-6 years or so, I think. So it's a good friend of mine, Alex Rusty Barwell, and he will join us next week to talk about his experience as a volunteer at Thought Bubble. So,
that's cool.
Stay tuned for that.
I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be great. And based on the back of that, we're going to go into the next section. And as I said, we're mixing it up this week, so who knows what's coming up. Oh, I love that tune. That tune. And it is Mr. Perpetual's Killer Indie Picks for New Comic Book Day, August 11th. Andy, you're up first. Take it away, my man.
This is kind of a weird one up first. Normally, normally we do our reviews, but I think I quite like this. This is good.
It's your time to shine, Andy.
It gets out of the way, You're done then, and
yeah, leave the best till last. Definitely in the case of this week, guys. I've kept it short and sweet. I've went for 3 indie picks that I think are going to be absolutely fantastic for next week. So the first one is the Silver Coin issue number 5. This is the 5th installment of this horror anthology, and this was meant to be the last issue of this series, but because it sold so well and the stories were so fantastic, they've extended it, and who knows when it'll actually finish. So we've had Michael Wallace, we've had Chip Zdarsky, Kelly Thompson, Ed Bryson, and Jeff Lemire. And the stories in this have been crazy. They've been really quick stories, really easy to consume, but each one of them tells a different horror, a different side of horror, and the covers have been absolutely superb. I've been picking up both A and B covers, and what can I say? I think Michael Walsh does all the art for the books, and it's different writers that do a creative story, all based on horror, and it's all centered around this one silver coin and the journey that it takes, and when you pass it or when it goes to one other person, how something in their lives becomes horrific, and it's just going to be really interesting, because if this was meant to be the last issue in this run, it'll be interesting to see how good it is, because effectively whenever it's been written, I'm sure they probably thought it was going to be finished off. So if any of you guys been
it sounds very much like Fear Case, which is just like when it's passed on to someone else.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of as well.
I've not read this one, but I've heard good things. Does each issue end with the silver coin passing on to the next person for the next story?
No, not necessarily. No, you just see the silver coin at some point. It's in someone's possession, and the interesting. This is kind of like a backstory of the silver coin in this issue, because it actually shows you how it was made and where it came from. So it's almost like the origin story of the silver coin. So it'll be pretty cool.
Looks like the goat there has enjoyed a nice big jam donut.
I hope that's a jam donut.
Before we just go on, Wakey Box has said, how many issues of Layla Star is there so far? There's 4 issues. Is there 4? There's 5 issues in total.
5 in total, yeah.
There is 5 in total. And I think issue number 5 comes out on the 25th of August. So yeah, check.
Do you know what this sounds like, Andy? This sounds like a cool Goosebumps. Like every story is different, but there's that little thread going between them all. Like Goosebumps, but actually scary.
R.L. Stein grew up, didn't he? Let's hope so.
If you haven't picked up any of these issues, guys, and you don't want to just jump in straight into number 5, the good thing is you can with these, because they're all individual stories. They don't necessarily connect. The only connecting thing is the silver coin. But I do know that the trade paperback is going to be coming out imminently, so that might be something to keep an eye out for.
Here we go. Look, Andy, you're doing a good job. Silver coin sounds interesting. We'll pick that up. That's what we like to see on this show.
So
luckily, I use my debit card these days. So.
Oh, mate, I'm excited for this one, Andy.
Yeah, this looked something a little bit different, should I say? So this is from James Patrick, the writer, and Marco Locati is the artist. Hope I haven't butchered that too much. And this is James Patrick is the writer of Kaiju Score. You remember that we reviewed a few issues of Kaiju Score. I knew that some people loved it and some people didn't. Not guy. So I'll just read a bit of the synopsis on this. So Sonny Campese is a small-time fixer for the mob-controlled neighborhood of Green Village. If you don't pay your gambling debt, he comes and collects. If you get a little rough with one of the girls, he gets a little rough with you. But when a dragon flies into town and Sonny is the one who's tasked with getting rid of it, it's a problem unlike any other that he's faced, and a chain of events begins that will affect everyone who lives in the neighborhood, especially Sonny. Dragons, the mob, what a combination.
Why would you not want to read it?
Absolutely.
Why not?
Why do I want to pronounce Campese? Like
Campese, and you want to do that as well?
Yeah, that's the way.
Well, I'll tell you what, after reading one of the comments we're going to review today, I couldn't help but talk like that. I just couldn't help it.
Yeah.
Great. Campese issue number 1. Sweet. We'll go
Tom,
next.
side note, is Grenade a protein shake brand?
Grenade is a protein shake, and I'm also sponsored by Grenade. Yes.
How did I guess? It just looks like it's a very tight t-shirt anyway.
Promo.
It's
And
not. This is a large.
You've got bigger during
I think
lockdown,
our
Lindsay.
versions are large, are very different. Sorry, side note. Always distracted by Tom.
And I wasn't using a Wonder Bra to put them up.
So dreamy.
Jesus. Well, that went in a different direction. So
Back
yes,
to
my
it,
third
back
and
to it.
final. My third and final indie pick is the Unbelievable Unteens, and this is by Dark Horse Comics. You see, I've got the correct logo there, Charlie. Just so. But this is actually by Jeff Lemire, and I think this went really under the radar. I don't think a lot of people are talking about it, and the fact that Jeff Lemire is actually writing on it gives me a lot of hope for this one. I'm not going to go in and talk about what it's all about, but just go check it out, give it a Google, go check previews, or go into notquitemint.com and get it bought.
Jeff Lemire did sorry, Ben. Jeff Lemire did a comic called The Family Tree. Did any of you read that?
Yes,
No, mate.
it's
I've heard of
excellent.
it though.
It's amazing. Like it's great.
One of my favourites.
Yeah, Jeff Lemire really does do well.
You're
like,
one of my favourite.
Dealing with like family emotion and emotions in general. So yeah, Jeff Lemire. Great
You know
writer.
what? You know why it might have gone under the radar? Because of that god awful name.
The Unbelievable Unteens.
Oh, it's one of the worst names. I cringed when you said that. The
My
cover's
accent
cool,
as
though.
well.
The cover looks very intriguing, but yeah, what kind of a name is that? Sorry.
It'll be interesting to see what this one's like, actually, because as I say, it's went so under the radar over the past few weeks. But those are my 3 indie picks for next week.
They was also, I'm definitely like they're free. Like normally you pick the indie picks and some of them are too indie even for me to read, but all 3 of them that you've picked, based on what you told us to read last week, I'm all in with you, Andy, mate. I'm trusting your judgment going forward because I was
Come and join me.
Pleasantly surprised, but honestly, mate, yeah, I'm definitely going to pick them up. We've got the Padawan Collector result. My turn on the Pop Culture queue is next. So basically, Pop Culture they're a Funko Pop toy company based in Australia. And if you can't get your Funko Pops that you need in the UK or in the US, you can queue up for unbelievable, like 3 or 4 hours, jump on a Pop Culture queue, and then you just pay shipping. I know Darren was waiting on that earlier. How indie is too indie?
Scouts Honor.
Yeah, don't read Scouts Honor or Bunny Mask. Bunny Mask is more indie than an indie comic should be.
But I think the interesting thing before we very quickly move on is that I think it's getting to the point where there's no such thing as indie comics.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
it's just comics.
Mm-hmm.
They're just Andy comics now.
Andy comics, yeah. No, I honestly do think they're just becoming comics because the independent comics are the mainstream now.
So am I going to have to change it to Perpetual's Killer Pigs?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it off air.
Okay, we'll talk about it. Okay. On that note, moving on, now that he's joined us, we can do... It's not quite minutes. Killer Keys for New Comic Book Day, August 11th. Now, I went to the effort of writing down all the things that you told me, but now that you're here, Tom...
I'll make note. You take it, because I'd like to see what notes you've got.
I'll just copy your notes, mate, so you can crack on. Go for it.
Okay, so I have picked out a couple of... I think I've got 6 keys to talk to you about that come out next week. And I'm just going to tell you why they're a key comic to pick up. So the first one is Defenders Issue 1. This is a brand new team of Defenders. You also get the first appearance of Talia and a first cameo appearance of Omnimax, who is a new villain that's going to be making an appearance in this Defenders. I don't know if anyone's read Defenders before, but apparently this is going to be quite a interesting new thing, and it's written by Al Ewing, or Al Ewing, whichever you want to say it.
Now, is the Defenders, wasn't that on Netflix?
It was, mate. Yeah. So the original Defenders, like back in the day, Namor, the Human Torch that wasn't the Human Torch from Fantastic Four, Captain America, I think, and Doctor Strange. And then they did the Defenders on Netflix, which happens to be Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones,
Jessica Jones.
but they're not actually the original Defenders, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think to be fair, what did everyone think about the TV series? Did anyone watch it?
I really enjoyed it.
I love everything about those Netflix shows other than Iron Fist. Other than Iron Fist, everything.
Yeah,
So
I would
not
totally
everything.
agree.
Everything.
I think for me, the Punisher outstood in the Daredevil.
100%.
But there's been lots of different versions of Defenders in books. Like in the comics, there's been lots of different variations on the team. So,
but this might be one I'm
guys, this ain't gonna catch on.
No.
Look at the state of that cover.
Unfortunately, I think they've rebooted the Defenders at least 3 times in the last 2-3 years. Or I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure this is like the second time I've seen the Defenders be redone in the last 2 years.
And they're really trying to push this dude in the mask, he was the character that was the thread between the Marvel 1000 story, and like there's no buzz about that character whatsoever. So just kill it while it's like dying. Don't bloody resuscitate the thing.
Well, on that note, let's kill it and move on.
Kill it. Move on. Okay, so Ben might be interested in this one. So this is XForce issue 22. And this one is worth picking up because it is the first full appearance of Dr. Bloodroot. And he's the main protagonist that's been going on at the moment in the story. It is actually quite a good story, I think. XForce is quite good.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, mate.
No, put your hand up.
What's Batman 89 issue 1 like?
Yeah, all right, whatever. we'll get on to that. And on that note,
I wonder if anyone notices.
So well.
I'm loving this series, like the X-Force series. I mean, it ticks so many boxes for me. Like early, it featured Colossus, Domino, and Quentin Quire, which is like, and Wolverine, I guess. So it's just like all of my favorite characters in the team. But recently, Quentin Quire has been getting some real kind of new depths to his kind of.
His character's taking
his character. Yeah, he's always been this kind of reluctant hero, and I think now that kind of reluctancy is gone, and he's kind of learning how to be a hero, and it's been a real kind of joy to witness. Although I do still miss the punk little shit that he was when he started. But
do you think they've gone down the road, Ben, of kind of like trying to get him to grow up a little bit? Because like he's probably taking over from Wolverine a tad.
Yeah, look, he was a terrorist when he started. Like, he was a horrendous person and caused the whole X-schism stuff. So he's come a long, long way. And there's some, like, if you read Wolverine Alpha, that little side story, that's fantastic. And he's taken all these kind of little steps to slowly becoming a hero. And literally in the last few issues, he's got like a hero suit now. And he's kind of found love. And it's just really, I love it when you're reading something and the writer clearly loves a character, an obscure character, as much as you do. And yes, it might only be you and 10 other people in the world that are enjoying it, but I'm one of those 10. Maybe.
Isn't that the joy of comics, that writer is written specifically for people like you that love that character, and that, which isn't that a beautiful thing?
It's a beautiful thing, and I'm just waiting for the Toad spin-off. So.
Oh, there will be, mate. 100%. Let's get John Boy Myers on it.
There we go. And in regards to Wakey Box, another blunder by Charlie. If any of you out there want to get the correct amount of times I blunder, you might get a giveaway next week. Who knows? But you have to guess the right one. So, and that's starting from after this Batman 89. So if you get it right, let me know. Teenage Moon Knight Productions, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is out now, and it sucks. There's an opinion for everyone, isn't there? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Moon Knight Productions stroke 2.0.
What was that person's name again?
It was
Troll McTrollface.
TMTP.
Hold on. I just need to write that down.
TMTP.
Troll McTrollface.
Guys, jokes aside, we hopefully will do a review on Suicide Squad next week, guys. It might be a double review next week, so we'll be reviewing Suicide Squad and the first episode of What If.
What If? Yes, but
Yeah, I think it comes out tomorrow in America, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're giving them a week. We're giving the Americans a week to catch up, and for Charlie to illegally download it.
But yeah, and there we go. So that is XForce issue 22, and then we have where we got next. There we go. The Avengers.
All right, cool.
1.
So this is a key because it's going to be the first appearance of the whole Avengers are getting kitted out in this tech armor that's been created by Iron Man. This is a key purely because it's their first appearance in all this high-tech gear. However, this ties in with the fact that Marvel are going to be doing a brand spanking new toy line at some point called the Avengers Tech On. And this is basically Bandai are going to be doing those toys, and I think Mattel are involved as well. So
yeah.
Shameless. It's like Secret Wars all over again.
Yeah, pretty much. But some of the covers for this, the feature Moco covers are stunning for this.
They are amazing. I was doing the show for Monday, and I've had a look at them, and they look great. Sensational. But yeah, there we go.
Okay, so this one is a IDW production of Star Wars High Republic, and this is the more like kiddie, not kiddie, more of the kind of child-friendly, more for families to read. And this is a first appearance of Taya Voy. I don't even know how to say it. Taya Yoirik. But basically, it's the girl on the front. She is the second person to have a purple lightsaber. And this is her story about her and how she's a Jedi and what she does. But she's a rogue Jedi. There's another character that's a bit similar to her who has like a little had like a plaster across his nose. I can't remember his name. So he is Jedi, but he's slightly rogue. Ben, can you help me out here? He had like dreadlocks, bit of a thing across his nose.
Kit Fisto?
No. He was a
Bokoon?
No.
Come on,
I'm just naming Jedi.
I'm just naming now, mate. He's in the episode. He's in an episode of Clone Wars, and he helps as he's like a tracker.
I know who it was. It is Teenage Moon Night Productions. Was it him? No.
Yeah. Yes, it was him. Yes.
Snoop Dogg.
Anyway, this
Robbie
is
Fowler.
worth picking up because it's a first appearance and it's a Star Wars book. And any first appearance in any Star Wars High Republic books are worth picking up and sitting on because it is the next thing they're going to be doing. TV, movies, everything is going to be based on High Republic. So it is worth picking up these first appearances, guys, before they get too expensive.
Awesome. This is why
get
we
them
do it.
now, and then you only lose, £3.50 worth of your money.
This is why we do it. Andy, I've got a great shout here. Mark Oldroyd just picked up Layla Star 1-5 on eBay. Thanks for the heads up on this one. If you get anything from this show, that is what we're wanting to see. We want people taking our knowledge and getting the comics and everything like that. So that's enjoyable to see.
Yeah. And let us know on Instagram, Mark, what you think of it. So just hashtag Killer Comic Show and just let us know what you think.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, that's kind of what we want to do. So let's do it. And also, ABZ, adding all our Star Wars titles to my subs 6 weeks ago. I have serious FOMO, but also back collecting a lot of Star Wars too.
Slippery slopes, slippery.
I'm the same. I've managed to get down to 14 subs, and I think 8 of them are Star Wars, and this will probably be my 9th potentially.
Side note on Star Wars, because we're probably not going to pick it as one of the picks, but go and read Zuckuss and Forlom.
Oh yeah, yes. Mate. I downloaded
one of my favourite reads of this week. So much fun, really cool, and some first apps in there as well.
Nice. And there we go. I knew I'd get it right one time. Here it is, Batman 89.
Awesome. So yeah, this is a brand new book by DC. It is based on the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton book. It is Batman 89, and this is particularly interesting because it's the first issue. It's the first time it's been done, and there's an appearance of the Robin from that era. And I actually believe I read earlier today that Tim Burton has had involvement with the designs of these characters. So I'm really looking forward to reading this.
Andy with the OG there.
The original.
This is winging its way to Benjamin.
Mate,
nice.
I'm very, very thankful. You cannot look at this cover and not have the Danny Elfman soundtrack like ringing in the back of your head. And this movie, alongside the kind of Fox Kids like X-Men, Spider-Man stuff, this is what got me into comics.
I would have picked it, mate.
I am like my nostalgia, my member berries are like going wild right now.
Remember the trading cards with
my member berries?
the yellow packaging, the wax trading cards that you could buy as well.
Yes.
Yes. I bought some, and it came. It was still sealed with the chewing gum, so the chewing gum was like as old as me because I was born in '89. Yeah, didn't taste nice.
But I mean, people are saying like, Optimus, this is still the best Batman film to date.
Couldn't agree more.
This is so
Batman
tempting.
Returns is still my favorite.
Now, if you think this is tempting, Mr. Warren Lowe has done these 2 variant covers. Either Carla Cohen's smashed out a few, but the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman that Warren Lowe has done
stunning,
is incredible. It's ultra realistic, and I think Andy, the guys, we were saying it's too realistic.
Yeah,
it's too. Yeah. It's incredible, and it is
kind of a criticism. Is that?
But yeah, do you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, you're too good.
You're too good. Mate.
I think it's a National Gallery in London and go, do you know what? This horse just looks too much like a horse for my liking.
I tell you this. See that cover, Charlie. See if DC haven't made the Batman gold foil.
Yeah,
I'm going to riot.
Good shout. Yeah,
that would be a good call. That would be an absolute.
They probably haven't, Andy. So you're going to be rioted.
I almost want like a really tacky like lenticular of it where Batman like swoops down like as you check it.
What that?
DC, if you're watching.
Now I think this is Joshua Davis. I play football with this guy. I think it's the same Joshua, but I mean he's asking if you want to start reading comics, what would you suggest to start with? Now obviously there's an array of comics. There's an array of comics. You can either message me on WhatsApp or Instagram, and I'll get some stuff off these guys, and I'll send you a list of what you can read because it's.
I was going to say, or message us on Instagram, and we know what we're talking about. We'll send you in the right.
I have a really quick answer to that, Joshua. Just start.
Yeah, pick up any comic.
You need to do.
Pick up any comic, just
because everybody's going to give you a different answer and a different opinion. I'll give you one type, and Ben will give you another, and Tom will give you a third. Just start reading comics. Go into your LCS, pick up 2 or 3 comics, and see what you like.
Oh, and I know this might trademark. This might get some hate, but when I started reading comics, I didn't read comics. Like I read graphic novels because that was just the easier way to do it. So if you are completely new to it, go to Waterstones. Go to a bookshop. Like bookshops all have a comic book area now, and there you can pick up full volumes of things as well. So you're getting the full story, and it's cheap. It's a cheaper way to kind of do it as well.
I disagree. Don't go to Waterstones. Go to your LCS and pick up a trade.
Well, we could argue all night about this, right? But again, someone else from our show.
Who are you getting bloody sponsored by?
Has just jumped up and picked up Silver Coin, issue number 1 to 4. Looking forward to what the man like Triple G thinks of that. Very much so. And last but no means least, Tom, we have.
Yeah, so this is Future State Gotham issue 4, and this is the first appearance of Hunter Panic. But the most significant part of this book is it's got a cover and A, and they're connecting covers by Diomon. I've got his name now. Simon DeMeo, who is the artist for We Only Find Them When They're Dead, and he's absolutely incredible. And I really do like these 2 covers when they're stood next side by side.
Yes, cover A and cover B joined.
Cover A and cover B. So cover A is Harley. I should have sent Charlie cover B, but I forgot because cover B is Punchline, and it's actually much better than this one. But together, they make a really nice picture. So well worth picking up for that. And also, like I said, it's a first appearance, and I think the first appearance is one of those ones you really should jump on just to sit in your box for a rainy day. They do tend to go up in value most first appearances.
There we go. Look.
And it's about time we saw Punchline again as well, because they kind of introduced her and have really dropped the ball, I think, on the character. So it'll be nice to see.
Well, she got an anti-snoring.
I'll be honest. I think James Tynion.
It's a pink class, though. What's wrong with you, man?
James Tynion kind of brought her in, and he's done nothing with her after Joker War, and it's a shame because she kind of came in and kicked everyone's teeth in. He was like, "Yeah, she's a cool character. What we got next?" And then he brought in Miracle Molly. She's cool, but I didn't need a new character. I needed more explanation of what Punchline was about.
Yeah.
They're all farts in the wind, mate.
Yeah.
They are all farts in the wind. And talking about farts in the wind. Like a cover book turning from a fart in the wind. It's Crampton's Killer Covers for New Comic Book Day, August 4th.
Good. I think I'll do my my own intros from here, Charlie.
You can crack on, mate. You just tell me what you want to do, and we'll do it. So up first, Ben.
Next slide, please. Okay, so the Joker puzzle box. One, this is Ryan Brown, who we all know does a mean Mr. J. Not mean as in like the various killings committed by Joker. No, mean as in sick. Not sick as in mentally ill. No, sick as in cool. Not cool. No, it's just haunting. Yeah, these are my notes. I write shit. All right, I prepare.
It's Tom over.
I love the J's on his tie. If you look on his tie there, he's got little J's, nice little touch. And Ryan has even like separated his signature as part of the puzzle design, which I really appreciated. So this was had to be a pick for me as a Joker fan. Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
It is quite
Next slide,
right.
please. Not all robots. Sorry, malfunction. Grant Wood's American Gothic. I didn't actually write that down. I didn't prepare that gag. That came from the spirit.
We could tell.
Grant Wood's American Gothic, homaged here by Mike Diodato Jr. In a brilliantly weird cover B. Andy mentioned this book last week, and I'm going to throw it out there. If no one does, I'll pick it, but I think we need to review this next week.
100%.
But yes, so hey, it's all about them robots this week.
Cover B was awesome with this. Cover B was awesome. Give us some talk about that. Great stuff.
The Me You Love in the Dark. Talking of rubbish titles, I hate that title. It's really hard to kind of get your mouth round. But anyway,
is it thickened? Is it thickened?
It's too thickened for my liking.
Again,
this is not.
you said.
So it's not a Shadecraft spin-off, guys. No. Did I even make notes for this one? Oh, yeah, Javier Fernandez. Now with the Me You Love in the Dark issue 1 variant, almost capturing the feeling of self-doubt that an artist gets when they look at a blank canvas and can't find inspiration, or they look at their art and it's a bit shit. I love the composition, the boldness, and the originality of this scary and spooky variant. And side note, I'm going to pick Tom. This is your pick for next week.
Me? No.
Yeah. No. Come on. Hi. I'm. Hold on. Let me find the accent. I'm going to pick the Me You Love in the Dark next week, guys. There you go. Great choice, Tom.
Okay, Ben?
Great choice.
I didn't realise that I was a steroid freak.
I didn't realise Tom was hungover.
I'm just putting you into a box.
I've got to agree with Andy on this. I think because it's got Scotty Young's name on it, this is going to be a case of serious FOMO.
Guys, I don't want to, a lot of people don't respect my opinion, but this book was fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Preview, spoiler. Yeah, if we look at next week, spoiler warning, I'm going to gush everywhere.
Right, well, so, you know
what?
I'll do it next week. I'll pick it next week.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it won't be next week.
I've already picked that robot one.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's fine. Cool. All right. Well, and then, yeah, so it's really weird. Normally we do the reviews, but we've done the indie picks. We've done the Killer Keys. We've done the Perpetual.
Is this a bit where we say goodbye?
No. It's not. This is the bit where we go on to the week 30 comic reviews. And Andy, it's like there's something going on tonight because you're up first again. Now first of all, I've got to give you a massive shout out for picking this comic. This is Shadow Doctor issue number 5. Now, as you can probably guess, there's 4 issues before this. I hadn't read any of this. And I've got to say, it was wicked. It's written by Joe Calloway, George's Gene T. Main cover is by Mark Chiarello. the Beaders Thingamajigs exclusive variant cover, and we have the Beaders Thingamajigs exclusive negative print as well. This is all kinds of awesomeness. I'm just going to pull up my notes because I made some really good notes on this one.
Well, let me preempt this. So it's not Joe Calloway, it's Peter Calloway, but I'll let you away with that one.
Right, okay, there we go. All right, fair enough.
You should have got away with that if you hadn't said anything.
That's all right, that's fine.
He committed, Andy. You got to respect the commitment.
I did commit.
I apologise to you guys last week when I picked this one because I knew you guys weren't reading this and you hadn't read any of the first 4 issues. And I said, guys, look, I'm going to read issue number 5. I've been reading it from the start. This is fantastic. Trust me, guys. And I'm glad that you guys did. So, what did you think, Charlie?
Right, so if I can just put it into a few words, this is how a gangster story from another perspective should be done. This was awesome. This was from issue 5. It's hard to jump on and review a 5th issue without people like having read it in the chat and stuff. So, I mean, all I can say is this: it's a fantastic finale that left me wanting more, even though I kind of feel it finished abruptly. I think there could have been one more issue or a couple more issues just to tie everything in. But I just loved, like, I read issues 1 to 5 in the space of like 40 minutes, literally just blitzed through it. And from the first page of issue number 1 to the end of issue number 5, I was hooked. The tension was upped in every single issue. It was a great portrayal of how a comic medium should be done. Like, it was an interesting part of American history. I'm not really a historian. I don't really like history and stuff, but I think where it was not really, but I think where it was
in Croydon,
where it was from Croydon, and where it was true life, it felt like I wasn't reading a comic book. I got so absorbed in it. I was into it 100%. Loved it. One of the best comic releases of the year for me.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
100%.
I think for everybody in the chat who like you guys probably hadn't been reading this, it's worth getting a little bit of a synopsis as to maybe what it's about. So, as you said, this is actually a true story. So it's a true story of Peter Calloway's grandfather, Nathaniel Calloway, who is a medical school graduate in the early 1930s. So
Joe is his brother, by the way. Joe Calloway.
Joe is his third cousin, actually. Nathaniel Calloway, he's unable to get work in any of the Chicago hospitals, and he's unable to get a loan to start up his own practice, and that's ultimately because of the colour of his skin. And he actually turns to the only source of money that people could go to in those days, and that was the mafia. And it just so happens that this book centres around the main mafioso person that we know, and that is Al Capone. And Al Capone gives him what he needs to be able to set up his own practice, but in return, Nathaniel has to treat all of Capone's guys who get injured, shot, and what other things happened in that day and age with all the gangs. For me, I'm actually quite jealous that you guys got to read this from issue 1 to 5 in the one go, because you can imagine having to read issue 1, then issue 2, 3, and then having to finish and wait for the next one to come out. This issue for me was everything that I wanted it to be, and I'm hoping that there's going to be a second arc, because I think this is only when it gets interesting. With that cliffhanger right at the end, I think opens up a lot of opportunity for Peter Calloway to take this story into the unknown, I guess. Benjamin?
Look, I actually would have preferred to have read it week by week or whatever, because it's a lot. It's a lot to kind of digest in one. I maybe would have liked to have kind of chewed on the situation a little bit longer. Look, don't get me wrong. It's a really, really interesting story, and it's very cool that the writer has such a kind of personal link to said story. The artwork was nice enough. I struggle, guys, with I know a lot of people would call me gangster, but I actually struggle with the gangster genre anyway, like in movies and things, and I also struggle with like period pieces, and this was both. So I kind of felt quite detached very quickly. The covers are great, like every cover, 1 to 5 has been really striking, but yeah, it just wasn't my flavor of ice cream. But it's not to say that it's not, like, I get it, I get the hype. It just
you know that somebody doesn't like a book when they go, the covers were good.
I said that last. I came to that, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, but yeah, it's not like I don't want to sit here and slag it off, because there's nothing really to slag off. Like it just wasn't my bag.
Wasn't your bag, Thomas?
Your bag. Well, I loved it. I 100% agree with Charlie. I think it's one of the best books this year. I would have hated to have waited month by month to read it. I'm happy I read it in all 5 issues. I think we had this conversation a few weeks back. I felt quite uncomfortable reading the N word. I don't like it anyway. So reading it made me feel uncomfortable. The uncomfortability of like the stuff that he has to go through just to get a by in life just because of the color of his skin was horrible to read and uncomfortable to read. But the way he progresses and how his life progresses is just such an interesting story. And the fact that it's based on a true story, and it's his grandfather telling him on his deathbed this story that he went through back in the 1930s is just insane. And I said this to Charlie earlier when we had a quick chat before the show. I am massively into comic books just because I like the sci-fi side of things. I like superhero side of things. So for me to pick up a book that has absolutely nothing to do with sci-fi or superheroes or anyone with abilities or powers was so refreshing. I loved it. And the fact that it was actually a story, like an actual story book, it just was so good. I really enjoyed it. I can't recommend going out and picking it up any more than like just go out and get it and read it.
The interesting thing is you say that, Tom, because like for me, whenever I was reading it, Nathaniel Calloway kind of became a superhero to all the people in his neighborhood by being able to open up that practice and serve them. So it's kind of interesting you say that. But I'm glad we appreciated the book. I know obviously, Ben, it might have not been your cup of tea, as it were, but that's cool. That's why we do this show. But for the guys in the chat that haven't picked this up, I would strongly suggest that you give this a read, and again, let us know what you think. This book is really accessible. It's an absolute killer for me.
It's a killer for me as well.
Killer for me.
Ben, killer or binner?
It just should be a book.
Okay. Ben's plead the fifth. Okay, cool. Up next is Beta Ray Bill. Now, obviously,
this couldn't be a bloody book, could it?
Yes. Beta Ray Bill number 5, main cover by Daniel Warren Johnson and the Nick Dragotta 1 in 25 incentive. Ben, crack on.
Hell yeah. This has been one hell of a ride. Completely chaotic, but in the best way possible. The artwork continues to be kind of vibrant and really kind of unapologetic in its kind of abstract nature. I think it kind of almost fits the it's like it's drawn in a kind of like angry, like way. I know that's I'm probably not putting that the best way, but you know what I mean. This issue kind of rounded off the story perfectly, but still left the kind of emotional door ajar for Bill, which was really nice. So yes, he's kind of come a bit of a way from issue 1 to 5, but there's still kind of some stuff there that Bill needs to work through. I was a bit gutted that Scourge kind of had to do one again and go back to the, with the Valkyries or whatever. I was like, oh man, can't he stay? I love this. And the other thing is, I wish they committed to the death that is in this.
Yeah.
Shall I spoil it? Can we spoil it? Yeah, we can. These are like
we
can spoil it. All right. So guys, Pip gets like absolutely butchered.
Absolutely butchered.
I just kind of think it would have really made a great kind of emotional punch, and really kind of, you could have said, yes, oh yeah, it was that 5-issue running Beta Ray Bill where Pip died, but they kind of bottled it again at the end, which Marvel just do all the time now. They don't kill characters, or if they do, they bring them back in 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 years. It's very boring. But yeah, this is a killer all day long for me. It's no secret how much I've loved this horse and this series, this space horse.
Andy?
With identity issues.
This was my favourite issue of this run. The only reason that I'm reading it is thanks to Ben. Or it would have been one that they've just went by. I wouldn't have picked it up. I feel now that I have read it that I'm loving the character. I love Beta Ray Bill, and I'm invested in the character now. So I'm going to seek out other stories that he's the main character in. And I totally agree with what Ben's saying with regards to the art. Daniel Warren Johnson, he's wrote this. He's done the art. He's done the covers, and the artwork in this. It's ferocious. It's absolutely ferocious from start to finish.
Yeah.
The fighting scenes in this is amazing, and I couldn't imagine another artist doing specifically this issue to get across the emotion that this definitely had. So thank you, Ben, for introducing me to Beta Ray Bill and this particular comic. It was an absolute killer for me.
Well,
No problem.
I've got a second now. After reading issue 1, I had serious doubts about it. But with Ben consistently going on and on and on about it, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to give in. I'm going to read the remaining 4 issues. And I've got to say, I really enjoyed it, Ben. So thank you very much for being on my case, because we definitely need more Bill. I loved it, man. I haven't really read any Beta Ray Bills, and I'm going to do the same as Andy. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and read more of it. The artwork
read his debut, man. Go back and pick up that old.
I'm definitely going to do that. For this, the artwork was awesome. The writing was enjoyable. The battle scenes were incredible. The one where Kip dies was amazing, and there was so much to look forward to from this issue. Having read issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all straight away, it was all fresh in my mind, so I felt like I was there. I was really enjoying it. Ben, Andy, thanks for these 2 comments that you've picked this week, because I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for making the comics that I read this week from last week awesome. So thanks a lot.
These 5 issues of Beta Ray Bill were better than the last 5 issues of Thor.
100%.
Andy, Tom, what did you think, mate?
I can't disagree with anything you said, and there's absolutely nothing else I can add, really, apart from what a fight scene. Absolutely amazing fight scene. So well drawn. You feel the emotion. You feel every blow when you're reading it. It was absolutely incredible. And the emotion that Surge has in this is incredible. And the way it's been written, it's just, I loved it.
I love the whole, I'm going to shrink myself down to give you a chance, and then he still beats the crap out of him.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly really enjoyed it, and I kind of do get the last 3 issues of Thor weren't up to par, but this was just the fact that when he goes to meet Odin, it was just all going to kick off from there. That was awesome.
And I think, coming out of this, we haven't come out of this empty-handed. They've ultimately given us a brand new character of Scuttlebug, the ship, the sort of living ship now. And I loved when the X-Men made the Danger Room a character.
Danger,
and I love that, and I think they kind of dropped the ball with her. So it's kind of cool to see a similar kind of thing happening, and I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing where their weird kind of relationship is, where he's like licking her battery at night.
So is that another killer? I think it's another killer, isn't it?
That's a killer, mate.
Now,
killer.
That's 3 killers we've had. Now, to finish off the show in probably the best way we can do, it is to review Made in Korea, issue number 3 by the fantastic Jeremy Holt, art by George Shao. Now, I think as a treat for you all, we might as well just get the man of the moment. It is Mr. Jeremy Holt. How are you doing, sir?
Hey!
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome again. It's your second. This is the second time you've been on the show.
Oh, you're on mute, Jeremy.
Can't hear you, Jeremy. You're on mute.
You're
We need those dulcet tones, baby. Come on.
Oh, can't hear you.
I can't
Do
hear
you know
Jeremy.
sign?
This is the beautiful thing about live shows.
This is what we're doing.
If it's any consolation, you look great, man. Like as
Yeah,
always,
Look how handsome he is. Come on,
You're
let's
always
just take a moment
polished.
here, guys.
making us look bad.
Until
Make
he,
that
sorts
man
out,
big.
until he sorts out his mic, we should just talk about how awesome he is, how awesome he looks, and he's tied his hair up. We were talking about absolutely amazing hair compared to him and Ram V, and he's tied it up.
Looking fresh.
Does it fresh?
He does look fresh.
He's on a work computer. All right, give HR a call. They'll sort it out.
Yeah.
So guys,
Bona fide.
I'm on a stream with some random dudes from England. Like we need to.
Give Jessie a text, see if she can come and fix it. Turn it off, turn it back on.
I tell you what, we'll let's talk about this issue.
Yes, let's talk
alone,
about this fantastic
while,
issue.
while Jeremy's sorting his volume out. I want to give a shout out, and I don't know whether it is George Shaw's work or Adam Wallett's work. Jeremy might be able to kind of confirm that, but the really kind of cool, imaginative ways of like adding sound effects in this issue.
Yeah,
like
man.
where the bricks were kind of being pounded and then you'd see the boom like written out in the smoke of the the brick debris. That was like, I really love that, and I just wanted to kind of give that a shout out. If it is Adam Wallet, props, and props aren't given enough, I don't think, to letterers in general, so that was very cool. I found this issue just like so much fun, but also so scary. So scary. Like the last issue, like I was scared. I was kind of worried and anxious what was going to happen, and this has just kind of added to my anxiety. So thanks, Jeremy. I'm now an absolute mess because I am really, really kind of worried to see where things go. But it's kind of cool to see like Jesse's strength and potential, kind of as a kind of sci-fi creation, rather than we already kind of know her potential of her mind and all of that stuff. So it's kind of fun to see those parts of like her, the training montage. It reminded me a lot of like Hit Girl and things like Hit Girl and Big Daddy and stuff.
Yeah, mate. That training montage is quality, that bit.
And I know I mentioned it last time, but it does like really kind of remind me of the Chappie film.
Yeah.
And I guess there's something really interesting there with the kind of manipulation of vulnerable individuals that have great potential, but they might have vulnerabilities elsewhere. And I think that's a kind of really interesting subject matter, and can be quite uncomfortable, I think, to be approached sometimes. So yeah, I'm a nervous wreck for issue 4 now, put it that way.
Jeremy, is it working now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on a PC and I hate it, so I just switched over to my phone.
That's fine.
That's
the Mac.
It's what happens.
Portrait, landscape, you're here, baby.
Thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure. We've had this plan since your first visit onto the show, and then I thought it was only right that we get you on for the 3rd issue, because you said this was your best issue that you did.
I think it's the most emotional one, maybe.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it's definitely the most emotional one. Obviously, you can tell based on what happens, why I had to be kind of very cagey about what I could talk about in interviews.
Yeah.
But
it was, I mean, for me, I messaged you on Instagram and said this blew my mind. It was so intense, but it was unnecessarily uncomfortable. It was necessarily uncomfortable. And I've got to second what Ben said. I was genuinely felt involved in this story. I felt absorbed with it, and my anxiety went through the roof when you kind of just get, you just feel for Jessie, because she's kind of got these 2 friends that have befriended her. They're wrong for her, but she doesn't know that. And it was just, oh my God, it's growing like a tidal wave. There's something coming, and I don't actually know if I'm ready to find out what's coming. I think it's just going to be absolutely incredible. So massive kudos to you for writing another sensational issue.
Thank you. Yeah, it was one of these things that I didn't really think about when I was writing it, just in regards to, I know where the story is going as the writer. I know what the reader is going to be picking up on. And it's as if the reader knows more about what's going on than the protagonist does. And you can kind of see a bit more of the horizon than Jesse can. And it's just unfortunate because it's like sort of a car crash down the road. And I didn't think of it in that way. And it is like makes for a very conflicting read, because you don't want anything to happen to her, but you also can't stop her from making these decisions.
I feel like that's what every parent goes through with their children when they go to school. Because I'm pretty sure, like, I struggled when I was a kid to fit in. And I really feel for Jesse. Like, I did the same sort of things. I made friends with the wrong people just because I wanted to fit in and, people to like me. So
we're right here, Tommy.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I'm talking about this lot. So I really resonate with that. And I think what you've got is we're all reading that. And, like, as parents, we're like looking at Jesse and going, oh, please don't do that. That's a really bad idea. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
But you can't stop it. You've just got to kind of watch the car crash happen. It's cool. I like the way you've done it.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that it was one of these things that I wasn't sure if I wanted to feature the idea of a school shooting, because obviously it's a very sensitive subject in America, and it's just prevalent and it never ends. And whenever one of these things happens, the response is thoughts and prayers are with families, and it's like that's not enough. And for me, it was somewhat personal because I worked at a middle school in Vermont, and this happened 3 years ago, where there were 2 8th graders that had plans to come in and just start shooting everybody. And they were talking about it on Fortnite. This was like on a Thursday night, and the kids took it seriously, saw the messaging. They went to their teachers on Friday. The teachers took it seriously, and then the state got involved by Friday afternoon, and by Saturday it was all neutralized. But
Thank God.
One of the kids had access to guns. The other, they were just bad news, and they had a list of names, and it was just shocking to know that there were 8th graders that were going to do this, and in a small town, in a town you would never expect, and that there is nothing that our culture in America is doing to address the underlying problem. This, we're not treating the symptoms, and I wanted to explore that vicariously through this character Jesse, who is going to get to make decisions that I just haven't seen anybody be able to make in real time. So yeah, I just decided to just lean in and write about it, because it's one of these things where it was really hard to be in these meetings and seeing these teachers talk about the reality of what was about to happen on Monday morning. Thankfully it didn't. And watching these teachers cry, and these potential parents having to get this bad news, and the list got out. So some of these kids who found out they were on the list had to go into therapy, and it's a big problem. And I've just never seen anybody in comics talk about it. I think the only time I saw it in a comic was in this graphic novella that Alish Kott wrote for Image called Wild Children, that Riley Rossmo drew many years ago. And Kott never really talked about the active shooter directly. It was just sort of part of the narrative, but to me, it's just something that I did a ton of research on, and I wanted to tell kind of a hopeful narrative, even though it is very dark.
Did this issue take you, out of all the issues you've written so far, did this one take the longest to kind of write, I guess, because obviously it's a touchy subject and you kind of must have to make sure that it's kind of done in the correct way?
Yeah, that's a great question. It definitely was. George and I really spent a lot of time talking about it, because we did not want to glorify it. We did not want to romanticize this. And we were very intentional to try to show just about, we're setting it up, and in issue 4, you're going to see what transpires. And this setup was actually pretty easy to write. It really is issue 4 that we had these very long conversations about what we did not want to show, because we did not want it to be perceived in any way of where we're just, profiting off the topic. in any way. We wanted to do it very delicately and deliberately. And you know, we talked about a lot of film references that we both like that are really good at showing violence off camera, and your imagination has to fill in the gaps. And that's really what we did intentionally for issue 4, but definitely issue 3 is the lead up to all of it.
There was a series on Netflix very recently. Oh God, the name has completely escaped me. And it was a bonkers thing about angels and stuff in the end, but it does feature a school shooting scene, and it's interesting for us as kind of British people. Like, it's such an alien concept to us to be able to get weapons and have access to that, and for that to even be a worry, you know. So I definitely think that there's a responsibility to kind of artistic creators to put it. I mean, I think Glee even had like a storyline, like
really?
Yeah, like and I remember even like don't judge me, chat, but even Glee, like even the way that they did it, I feel like it had a really kind of profound like effect as a viewer and stuff. So I think there is an artistic responsibility to kind of tell those stories, because the reality is, obviously, as you say, is kind of thoughts and prayers are with the families and friends, and that's kind of it, moving on. Whereas, you know, those families and friends aren't moving on ever. So I definitely kind of give you props to bringing that into this kind of form of storytelling, because as you say, I mean, you've obviously would have done a lot of research and have that kind of one example of a book, but it's surprising to me that there's not more books out there that have touched upon this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I was setting this up. I don't know if anybody picked up on it in issue 1, where Bill is talking to the group of men at this birthday party, and they're talking about how they don't have guns anymore. And
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of a subtle foreshadowing. I feel like some people picked up on it, some people didn't. But you know, it is set in an America where guns are under lock and key, and that's kind of an America I'd love to kind of experience. And it also makes it a little bit otherworldly, because it's not the America that I will probably ever see in my lifetime. So it was little things like that I wanted to make it feel futuristic, and also just the stark contrast between Korea and America. And this is like a very, very American thing. So
I think for me, Jeremy, I think that for issue 3, I think you're absolutely right. It was, if it was like one of your favourite issues, it was definitely my favourite issue so far. I think even though the subject matter, the whole concept of identity still was really strong in the book. I think it was kind of a front and centre, and it was all still about how Jesse is struggling with that identity. And what I got from it, I kind of think deep about these books, especially books that I really enjoy afterwards. And it was kind of like, at the end of the day, as human beings, we all just want to be liked. And Jessie kind of is struggling with our notion of herself, just like each and every one of us kind of do. I know last week we reviewed Mother of Madness, which we sort of commented was like a social commentary on women. And I think after reading issue 3, Maiden Career is definitely like a social commentary on human experience. And everybody in the chat, I just can't stress enough that you guys need to make sure that you pick these books up, because they're absolutely stunning. So thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely liked this issue because I got to showcase Jesse's strength, like literally and figuratively. And it's just fun to see this seemingly 9-year-old girl, crush concrete with her hands. And as far as the sound effects, that was actually all George. George did that within the art.
Oh, okay, really cool. Love that.
That was great.
It was actually really challenging to come up with. It's, as a writer, if you ever were a fly on the wall watching a writer try to come up with sound effects, it's really kind of funny because I was just making noises, and I was like, what does concrete breaking sound like? So I was just looking up all these sound clips, and then I was like trying to say it out loud, and I was like, how does that phonetically look on the page? So I was actually quite proud with the way concrete sounds when it breaks.
you want to give us an example there, Jeremy?
I'm good.
Are you saying you didn't so you didn't go outside and start punching bricks? No? Okay.
But comics and pop from hashtag Team Nerdhead. Wow, this sounds intense. I may have to pick this book up. Wow, if you do anything at the weekend, pick up this book. Pick up all 3 issues and read them
100%.
straight away. 100%.
Guys, if you got any questions in the chat as well, pop them in the chat. Charlie will get them up
Well,
on screen.
we do have
Jeremy.
so Jeremy Wakeybox is new to the comic collecting. He focuses on Funko Pops and stuff like that. But he's got a question, maybe a silly question, but do you as a writer know how the full issue run goes, or do you change the story based on the readers' reactions?
Oh, that's interesting. That's actually a really good question because so for this it's 6 issues, but I had it all planned out, and I finished writing it in 2019. But what's interesting about Korean television, and I just found this out through a friend of mine who's a TV executive, in Korea with K-dramas, they write for the audience. So the writers, usually the director of a show will have their own team of writers, usually 1 or 2 people. And as soon as an episode ends, the writers are that night, or sometimes as the episode is coming to a close, I don't know how they get their feedback, but they start writing the next episode based on the audience reaction. And it's just how that culture is always on television. And Korea is now finding out about American writers' rooms and other writers' rooms in different countries and how they, systematically and methodically plan out episodes. And it's not about the audience. Like, they're writing a good show, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. So I've never written for an audience. I was doing that for a long time, trying to write something I thought was cool or something that I thought people would like. And then I just wasn't finding any success with it. And I stopped doing that. And I said, I just need to write what I want to read. And if people read it, great. If they don't, they don't. And fortunately, it seems like the reception for me in Korea has been overwhelmingly positive.
And on the subject of the writing process, do you plan those cliffhangers? Because I found with these 3 issues is that you've kind of mastered the art form of the we call it the doof moment, because we have a soap called.
I knew that was coming.
We have a soap called EastEnders over here, and at the end of every episode there'll be a cliffhanger, and it will go doof 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 and play the theme music. Anyway, I feel like in those first 3 issues, so did you kind of map that out to kind of have that pick up the next issue feel to that last page?
Definitely. I mean, my outlines are where my creative lifting happens. So I'm consciously thinking about the odd-numbered page. I spent years dissecting Jason Aaron's Scalped and Brian K. Vaughan's Why the Last Man, because BKV's Why the Last Man opened my eyes to the power of a cliffhanger in comics. And I've been just trying to live up to that standard. And I'm all about the cliffhangers. Even if I'm scripting a graphic novel, I will still break it up into 20 or 22 page chapters just to keep the cliffhanger or the mini cliffhangers intact.
But honestly, I mean, I've read the 3 issues that have been released today. It's stunningly good. The only thing is I'm now on tender hooks for the next one. That's
all, mate.
Aren't we all? Seriously. Oh, imagine how Jesse feels.
It's working.
100%.
I mean, that new haircut she's rocking.
Yeah. That actually, I hope people kind of take pause and think about it, because, the reality in this story, and looking back on it, I kind of regret that I didn't provide enough screen time for Bill and Sue Lin, because everything is moving so quickly, and they're still trying to understand that they own a proxy, and in the story, proxies have base directives, meaning they act like 9. The age range for them are 7 to 10 years old. They don't grow up, so they have a proxy, and they don't understand why she's acting the way she's acting, because she's evolving in a extremely humanistic way. And I do feel bad that we don't really see their relationship with Jesse enough, but I do try to bring that back around. But it's just very disorienting, and I think for Jesse, deciding to alter the way she presents herself is very human. And
she's the most human character in the whole series, in the whole comic. He's the most human character, and considering the fact that she isn't human is amazing. You've done such an amazing job with that writing.
Thank you.
Mark Oldroyd touched on it. He said, "Let's talk about Kevin was a chilling book and movie." I remember seeing see in that movie. I don't know if you've heard of it, but if there's essences of that you can kind of see in your comic, and it's great. It's a chilling movie, and the fact that unbeknown to you, it kind of ties into what you've done for May's career, and it is amazing. Like as Tom just said, she's the most human character out of the whole comic book, and yet she's the AI.
That's the biggest compliment. Thank you so much. I was curious to ask all of you, when she goes home that night and she's like prepared to go and do this task with these two boys, and she grabs a pair of scissors, what did you think was going to happen on the next scene?
I thought she was going to cut her hair.
No,
Oh,
I thought she was
literally thought she's going to cut her hair.
I thought she was going to stab her parents.
Yeah,
Did
I'm
you
a
actually?
pessimist, so I always think the worst. My imagination, it does worse things than what actually, and that's the bloody issue with this book, Jeremy, is you're sending me for one because my imagination is running riot. I've got a question for you as well on the subject of Jessie's hair and kind of fashion changes. So obviously on the serious side of things, I think it's about exploring how vulnerable people, they're trying to kind of find their place within, a pack, and sometimes you do things to do that. Have you ever, as you were growing up, ever kind of changed things about you or kind of done things to feel like you were part of a group?
Never to be part of a group. So I'm a triplet. I have two triplet brothers. So I spent my entire life trying to differentiate myself from two people that I get recognized for. And so, yes, I've thought a lot about how people present themselves and what that means, and the internalized struggle of trying to match how you see yourself in your mind's eye with what you see in the mirror. And I really wanted to explore that specific topic with this story, specifically with Jessie's character arc, because so in 2017, I came out as non-binary, and just being able to let go of the gender binary and just be very open to living life by my own rules, and it enabled me to live authentically. And what I wanted to do with Jessie is that she doesn't really understand the concept. She just knows that she needs to change, and she needs to start coming closer to the center of whatever her internal vision of herself is. And I think that that's something that I haven't seen explored in AI stories, where if a seemingly artificial intelligent being or device or whatever understands gender and then defies it, I think that's actually a really cool way of showing consciousness, because it's beyond anything a coder could write, I think, because it's so complex and it's so nuanced, and it's a very complex spectrum, gender identity, and just about everything exists on the spectrum. So yeah, I definitely infuse a lot of my own personal journey into that part of her character.
That's really cool, man.
Really cool. Yes, I'm kind of just sitting here thinking, wow. Leon Russell, I think all the books that Jessie read are going to come into play. She's absorbed not just knowledge and experience, but also philosophy. Yeah, because that's very interesting, because in the first issue, she literally just cleans out the library and reads everything. And obviously she's just processing it all. So obviously she kind of, for me, she does have the knowledge of what's right and what's wrong, but then does she? Do you see what I understand? Like, we all know what's right and wrong, but does she?
Yeah, and to her, it's still not explained to her, because she asks, are these books dreams? And I never actually got to resolve that scene. So she's reading these books, but it's kind of it's missing a lot of context. It's like understanding theory, but not putting it into practice. So she understands all these high concepts, and maybe she's reading philosophy books, maybe she's reading about human development, but it's interesting to know that she's trying to process it and she wants to fit in, and it's very confusing. I mean, I think we all can relate to just wanting to fit in, and there is no guidebook, and it's amazing that we all kind of were able to walk through that gauntlet and come out intact on the other side, because it's scary, especially with social media. I don't think I could have survived middle school or high school if social media was a thing.
Oh, I would have.
100%.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to go
same.
back and do it with social media at all. I got bullied at school. I wouldn't want to go home and then get bullied at home. Yeah, no thanks.
Right. And I think, like, for me, this is one of the best sci-fi comics out there at the moment. There's twists and turns, there's tension, there's anxiety, there's a whole heap of emotions that you keep throwing us, and we don't know left, right, up, down. I read issue number 3 and was just like, wow.
I think some of the best sci-fi for me is sci-fi that's so rooted in reality. The actual sci-fi elements kind of sit in the background.
Yeah,
you barely sort of notice those elements as much because it's more about the kind of human stories at the forefront. Well, obviously not human, robot in this instance.
well, she is human, mate.
That's
But I mean, I didn't. Go on, Jeremy.
Go on, Charlie.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was literally just going to say, like, I really, like, after issue number 3, I really felt for her parents. Like, I really felt that they wanted this perfect life. They've seen their friends have it in the first issue, and they kind of wanted that, and they get it, and it's all been turned upside down on their head. And they kind of, you kind of feel for them. It's kind of like they're trying to do the best thing by her, and she's kind of losing herself because she's gone from being this loving AI child, what they wanted, and due to the experiences of what every kid probably goes through growing up and learning new things and evolving and meeting new friends and stuff, she's going through that a lot quicker than I think they understood. So now they're kind of like, have we made the right decision?
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of these things where Bill and Sulin are just one step behind her because, again, they're writing under the assumption that she's synthetic. Her personality is synthetic. It's curated. And so every time she's changing, I really used Neil Blomkamp's Chappie as a blueprint, even though I feel like people don't like that movie.
I like it.
What's interesting about it is that, Chappie goes from basically infancy to adulthood in what I think is approximately 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting thing to do, and it's an interesting framework. And that's what I needed to do because I only had 6 issues. I didn't want to be like 3 years later, kind of thing. So she's accelerating at a rate that's it's hard for Bill and Sulin to keep up, and because they're still trying to, they can't imagine that she's like she has consciousness, because who would? It's like kind of unbelievable. But so there is denial with both of them. I think that they're not coming to terms with, and it's just nuanced and it's layered and it's complicated, and there's a lack of communication between. I mean, Jesse starts to shut down emotionally with them, and that's hard. I mean, I think about when I was growing up, and I see my siblings who have kids where the kids get to a certain age where they become teenagers, and then suddenly they don't want to hang out with you, they don't want to talk to you, they want to stay in their rooms, and it must be really hard as a parent.
I can't wait. No. But to be fair, I think I've got a daughter, and I think women in particular go through a development stage a lot earlier than us, than boys do, and it's quick as well. And I think I was kind of reading into Jesse's kind of journey there as well, in that sense as a woman, and those changes and how that must feel. I mean, it was hard enough for me, going through those changes as at 21. And
yeah, I mean that's a good example, because like imagine your daughter going through those changes, but she doesn't actually age physically.
Yeah.
And so it's like even more disorienting for a parent who's like, wait, why is this 9-year-old acting like a 18-year-old? Like, I'm confused.
Yeah.
It was so intriguing, like, just to see that development. And I'm the same as all these guys here. If you can just sit down and read a comic and get absorbed by it and kind of feel like you're there in the pages as you're flicking through it, every single issue that you've done has done that. And as much as I want to read issue number 4, I'm kind of anxious about it. I'm like, we're going to see the fallout of this. I need to prepare myself for this. I don't feel ready for it. But then after you get to issue 4, there's another 2 issues, coming. So you kind of,
Yeah.
and the way that you've done it is you've got issues coming out in September, October, and I think the last one comes out in November. So you've kind of setting that up for.
Oh, what are you doing to me, Jeremy?
Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it is so involved. It's so
Are there any
intriguing.
themes that you've not, any kind of new themes that are coming up in the new? Obviously, you can't give away the story and stuff, but are there any kind of new elements to the story that are coming up that might kind of, take a bit of a right turn?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see more of the bioengineer story. So Casey gets more involved.
Cool.
You're going to kind of see where he thinks things should go, because it's this question of what makes you a parent, right? And for him, he thinks I created this person, so I am the rightful parent. But we all know that you have to have. Not all parents are imbued with like maternal or paternal instincts. So we're going to see his story a bit more. We're going to also see his cousin more. I'm really excited about his cousin. His cousin's a fascinating character that if George and I get to do another arc, we've discussed that it's going to be exclusively featuring the cousin.
Oh wow!
Okay.
And
That's excellent. Yeah.
And his story and how he, basically, he steals some of the tech from Wookjin Industries, and he's taking it in a completely different direction, and he sees a very different future from KDC. And yeah, so it's going to be. I'm excited about that because I think it's going to be definitely more sci-fi, where George and I are going to explore. It's going to be further into the storyline, so it's more futuristic. There's going to be body modification. There's going to be all sorts of cool tech that we want to introduce, and just cool themes about, just generally about sex work, because it's taboo in some places, and I think that the discussion of having sex with robots is definitely happening right now, and
100%. Yeah.
George and I want to.
That's Tom, yeah.
Why could I get involved in that?
No, jokes aside, I've watched like legit documentaries on that, and it's
I think that like Westworld does a really good job of it, and Westworld is definitely an influence and gave me the idea of where to take it, but also it's going to explore consumerism, because the reality is that these processes are great, but in a way, I think that KDC's cousin, in a way, is correct, because it's short-sighted. So it's this temporary stopgap of let's create synthetic children to fulfill this demand. But after a while, parents are going to be like, well, this is still a 9-year-old. Yeah. And it's like the fascination's going to wear off. I mean, if people can abandon their dogs, they're going to abandon foxes. So there is that narrative that I want to explore.
I mean, Jeremy, has Image Comics given you any indication whether they're interested in taking it to a second arc? Have you had that conversation yet?
No, I haven't had that conversation yet. I did, strangely enough, Todd McFarlane called me on the phone.
I've seen that.
As you do.
As you do. He called me
and phoned you up.
And he was just like, Jeremy Holt, I love Made in Korea. I was like, okay. And so we got to talking, and he gave some really interesting advice about looking at the sales number of a mini series. And his theory is that the middle issues, depending on the issue run, but the middle issues are kind of an indication of what your core audience is, like how many people are reading your book consistently. So I know what those numbers are now. I just received them a couple of days ago. So I need to formulate some thoughts and see if it's something that they might be into. But if not, George and I are perfectly content and happy and proud with what we've done with this one arc.
Oh, you should be, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
If Todd McFarlane can do a line of Jesse McFarlane toys, Todd, if you're watching,
hair.
I'm in. Take my money. Just take all my money.
Right,
little breeze blocks as accessories. There you go.
Yeah. That would be amazing, actually.
And you could change her hair out and stuff. That'd be great.
Just to add to the consumerism of geeks.
Well, I've got a question. Phil's got a question from Comments Talk Weekly. Jeremy, you highlight 8 titles on your site. What advice would you give early you about creating comics? That's a great question.
Great.
What a question.
Oof, that's a good question. I would say write things that you are scared to write about, and infuse as much of your personal narrative as you can. I really think it's not intuitive to write about your problems and weave them into fiction, because I think most people, have a pretty healthy ego and think, oh, who cares about my problems?
Mm-hmm.
But the moment I decided to stop writing what I thought people wanted to read and started writing what I wanted to read, it just rings more true, and it has a deeper resonance as far as what readers have responded and emailed me about. So yeah, definitely just dig into your own life and find, we all have trauma, we all have conflicts, we all have day-to-day problems. Figure out how to tell those in interesting ways, because it is extremely and instantly relatable.
Great question.
100%. Yeah,
that was awesome.
That was awesome. Now, I've got to say, I really liked the end of the comic. You did another proxy story. You included another proxy story called Distance. That came totally left field. Was not expecting that.
It was beautiful.
It was great.
Yeah. They've all been very interesting, and I'm glad that I did it, because I didn't have enough room to really explore other proxy lives. And, it is kind of expanding the world of Made in Korea, and it's kind of setting these different tones. And it was wonderful to see, I gave the rules to each artist. These are the things you need to keep in mind and abide by, but have fun with it otherwise. And it's been really fun to see where each artist has taken their story. And Yunju did an amazing job.
It was a great story. But I mean, I think we're going to touch on the other stuff, because you are doing. I watched a Instagram stream that you did with a good friend of yours a couple of weeks ago, and you touched on another project that you're kind of you've been lucky to do. Are you able to talk about on that? Is that at the forefront of the news release yet, or?
Oh my God! So much has happened in the last couple of weeks. I'm forgetting.
He's like, don't say something you're not supposed to. Don't say something you're not supposed to.
Well, I think that I can say this now, but I do have a 5-page story in a Marvel anthology that's coming out on August 25th. They're doing Marvel's Voices #1, which is featuring AAPI voices, so all Asian American writers and artists, and I am doing a story featuring Silhouette from New Warriors.
Oh, cool!
Nice,
cool. Interesting, because I'd never read New Warriors, and I read it, and I found the original storyline to be super problematic. And I found it really interesting that Silhouette doesn't have a civilian name, and I thought, what is her civilian life like if she can't hide behind a real name? And her superhero name is doing double duty. So I instantly thought about, what is her dating life like? Like, she's a disabled person and she's biracial. So she's kind of recognizable, especially that she uses crutches. So even in her superhero form, she's using crutches. So, as a crime fighter, her race and her disability don't play a factor. She can still run with the best of them. But in her civilian life, she can't just tell a bad date who asks stupid questions, you can't ask me that, or stop asking me that, because I'll kick your ass. Like, I guess she could, but like, she has to kind of hide behind a lot of like social niceties, which I'd imagine would be very frustrating. So I thought the dichotomy of that, and the fact that I get to explore her identity in that way, was super fun.
Yeah,
has it given you the Marvel bug? Have have you got an urge now? Is there any other characters out there you'd love to?
Are you trying to pitch Toad to Jeremy?
Look,
you've got to get Jeremy to write a Toad story.
Jeremy can write it, and John Boy Mayers can do the art. There you go. Done.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. That's it. We'll get John Boy, the fifth member.
Awesome.
We'll get him back on it, and you guys can talk.
What's interesting about the Marvel thing is that I never really thought about writing for Marvel, because I just didn't see myself having an in. And now that I've done this, and now that I'm kind of in their system, so to speak, yeah, I'm trying to manifest some destiny, and I'd like to do a mini series. I don't know. I mean, honestly,
yeah.
I would love to try to take on the New Warriors, but I also know that there's some sort of interesting history about it trying to be rebooted maybe 1 or 2 years ago. But I'd like to take it on because have you all read New Warriors from the 90s?
I struggled to get into it, you know.
Yeah. It's one of these books that is very, very 90s in the sense that they're supposed to be teenagers, but something about the art makes them look like they're in their 30s. And, you know, like some of the characters, I don't know. And it's this, even Silver's background is really problematic, I think, because, you know, she comes from this civilization out in Cambodia, from this well called the Well of All Things. And her maternal grandmother kind of controls it. And her grandmother is this, like, kind of caricature of a villain. But it's also this kind of yellow peril narrative, like, you know, evil Asian person trying to take over the world, which is problematic. But yeah, I would really like to explore her story a bit more and maybe revisit the team and just make it more contemporary. And it's set in New York City. I think it'd be cool to maybe create a new team. Like you guys just reviewed Defenders. It's like, hey, why can't we just create a new team for New Warriors?
Yeah, nice.
And put Toad in it. It's really interesting you say about the kind of problematic nature of some of Marvel's kind of past depictions, and it's an interesting thing, and I definitely think it's something Marvel are trying to kind of battle at the moment with themselves, and most notably I think with the new Shang-Chi movie kind of having to reinvent a lot of the kind of mythology around Mandarin and, and his original depiction.
Yes, and even his original story is really interesting because now I got this from Wikipedia, so I don't know how accurate this is, but he is the son
everything,
of
Jeremy.
From what I understand, he's the son of Dr. Fu Manchu, and Dr. Fu Manchu was a character created, I think, in the 60s or 70s by a white person, and he was this kind of evil genius trying to take over the world. Again, another yellow peril narrative. And according to what I've read, the creator of Dr. Fu Manchu created him based on using a Ouija board and asked the ether, what will make me rich? And the board said Chinaman. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so bad. And so, and Marvel couldn't obtain the rights to Dr. Fu Manchu, so they had to kind of pivot, I think. And Shang-Chi was the product of that, I think. But it's good that, you know, I don't fault the original creators of the New Warriors. I think they did the best in the moment. But, you know, time moves on and we evolve. And you know, I would love to, I think what the work that was done there was fun, and it was real quick, and it was interesting to see these characters I'd never heard of interacting with people like Punisher and Daredevil and whatnot. But I think that there's room for growth and new ideas for these properties.
Definitely.
Well, I for one, and I think there's a few people in the chat are definitely looking forward to that. I mean, you've had, like, lockdown has been pretty hard on some people, but I mean, you've had a pretty great couple of months, wouldn't you say so? I mean, getting picked up by Image after like 11 years of trying. A phone call with just some random guy called Todd
Father, mate. And then that phone call. I mean, personally, if I got that phone call from Todd Father, I'd probably die. I'd probably keel over that bit. See you later, mate.
And then to top that off, you go with Marvel. So congratulations for having such a bloody awesome 2021 so far. We're only
to top that off,
8 months in.
Then he's on the Killer Comic Show for the second time.
That's right.
There we go.
That's the cherry on the top.
Now, mate, it don't get better than this.
And then a bit of extra writing. He's getting a story pitched to him from Ben about doing Toad.
That's
including
right.
Toad. But I mean, how have you? I mean, I guess you just have to kind of pinch yourself now and again just to think, am I an AI?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really had time to process it because, I mean, the Marvel script was a really quick turnaround. They needed me to pitch an idea and have a script done in 5 days. So
5 days.
I only had one idea, and I was like, if they don't like it, I'm not doing it. So I just pitched one idea. Fortunately, my editor was like, I was hoping someone was going to pitch a story like this. This is great. And I wrote the script that day, and I revised it twice based on notes, and then I was done. So, and like
Wow.
seeing
Impressive.
Alti from Zaya's art was amazing, and seeing her layouts was super cool. And I just recently moved, so like I moved from Vermont back to Brooklyn a month ago. I'm actually sitting in a temporary office at this new job that I started 3 days ago. So it's like a lot has been going on, but
that office looks great though. By the way, it does look. It does look like, as you said on Instagram, it does look like the Apple Store.
Yeah. Actually, so that place isn't open yet. So I'm at a different campus. I'm doing tech support at school, but this is a campus that's 30 minutes north of where I'm supposed to be at, and the campus I'm supposed to be at hasn't opened, and I don't know when it's going to open. So I wasn't preparing to have to do a 2-hour round trip commute to work every day.
Wow.
But, you know, it's been fine, and living back in New York City has been great, and I'm excited to do, you know, some in-store signings when that's safe. And you know, I popped into one of the shops in Manhattan, and they had a bunch of copies of Made in Korea, and they were saying that people were really coming in for the series, and so I got to sign some copies, which is cool. And yeah, I'm glad that I moved back to have those opportunities and whatnot. So,
well, that's awesome. Thank you for giving us
Jeremy.
the
You mentioned about building super teams and of the new Warriors. So the Killer Comic Show is trying to build its own super team. So you might have seen that we had John Boy Myers on the show on Saturday evening, and he agreed to do our first exclusive cover for us if we ever did release one. So I'm thinking we need a writer to write this book that we are going to come up with. So can we get your thumbs up that you'd be interested in some writing for it?
I would happily help. Yeah.
That was
Legend.
There we go.
And Ben just wants to ask, is it going to
Underneath the
include
camera,
Toad?
he's got his fingers
He's
crossed
like
like that. He's like, yeah, fine, yeah. Oh, I'm all on board, guys. Yeah, I'm there.
This is where Jeremy's internet suddenly cuts out. It's like, yeah, I'm completely.
I love all of your personalities are so distinctly different, and it's just a joy. It's a joy to listen to you all talk about comics. Like, thank you for just reading them every week and talking about them and praising what you like and boosting what you like rather than tearing down what you don't.
No, but thank you for taking the opportunity to come on again and just chill with us, just talk comics and stuff. It's great having you on, and like now and again you'll just pop up in the chat. So thank you for taking your time to appreciate what we're doing, and it's 100% it's reciprocated. So keep doing.
We're going to grow together. You're going to be a superstar. We're going to be superstars. This time in 5 years we'll be laughing.
But there is
a Killer Comics comic written by Jeremy Holt, with the artwork done by John Boy Myers. I mean, about us, that'd be quite cool.
That'd be, and a pet toad.
That'd be very dull.
But I've got one more question just before you go, Jeremy. And it says, is Marvel the top of the mountain when it comes to writing comics?
Not at the moment.
I'm going to say no. I think that writing for Marvel is a novel experience, and for some it could be the top. But honestly, Made in Korea has allowed me to stand at an altitude that's just rarefied air, where I'm writing this story that is truly meaningful. It's resonating with people. It's attracting interest outside of comics, which I can't really talk about. So it's like, and it's opened up all these doors. I mean, like, it's because of that book I've spoken to Todd McFarlane. It's because of that book I now have a film agent in LA. It's because of that book that editors are now following me. It's because of that book that artists that I admire are now following me. So that to me is the top of the mountain.
Yeah. No, that is awesome. And just before we go, if anyone else has got any more questions in chat, when do you know is the trade paperback coming out? Because I can't wait to get my hands on that.
Tentatively, I think it's the end of January. So that's what it's.
Get it on your Christmas lists.
Yeah, I mean, it might be delayed because unfortunately George recently contracted COVID. So we've had to push issues 5 and 6 back a month. They're doing much better now, but they needed obviously a break and some rest, and so they're back. They're going to be back to it, I think, next week. They've cleared their slate, so issues 5 and 6 is the only thing they are working on. So we're gonna just, hit that ground running and make it to the finish line. Everything. So issues 5 and 6 are just gonna be delayed by a month.
Well, that's
Cool.
going to be.
We'll wait. We'll wait.
We don't want it to end. I mean, just before you go, Jeremy, is there anything you would like to say to the people in the chat about Made in Korea if they haven't read it already? Have you got a description that you could sell the comic to them?
Yeah, it is an AI story featuring topics of adoption and identity. It's set in a world where children are no longer being born, and it is sort of it's a post-apocalyptic, but it's at the beginning of the decline rather than the end of a decline. So it's going to be a world you're probably going to recognize, but there are going to be little things that you won't, and it's going to feel familiar and foreign at the same time. And it's about self-discovery. It's about again, identity and the adoption experience.
That is just basically
Fantastic.
if you haven't read it yet, pick it up. If you're lucky enough to get the first print of issue number 1, go and get it, because it did go to a second print as well. All the covers are fantastic, and it's just great having you on the show. So thank you very much for taking the time out in your makeshift office to spend time with us. Keep doing what you're doing. We're loving what you're doing. We're looking forward to reading the next 2 issues when they come out tentatively, because we will be on tender hooks to find out what actually happens to Jesse and everything else. But it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
and the same to you. Thank the 4 of you for being such genuine supporters. And issue 4 will be out on time at the end of the month, so you have that to look forward to. That you're going to need to sit with. It's definitely the heaviest of. I think it's the heaviest of the series.
Jeremy, what are you doing to me?
Talk about a parting gift. Thank you so much.
When it gets all over and it gets to the end and we got to issue 6, Jeremy, you must come back on and talk to us about the whole thing.
Oh yes, absolutely. I was gonna suggest that. I'm glad you guys beat me to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. You can come back, and it'd be great to literally just spend the whole show just breaking down every issue and just going through it in depth.
And just go through the emotional roller coaster of the whole thing all over again.
We'll just do a live read where we just turn the page and cry and emotion and stuff like that.
Andy and I had hair in issue 1.
But honestly, Jeremy, thank you so much. We will touch base, and we wish George and to get better from COVID and stuff like that. But we won't take up any more of your time. Thank you so much. And yeah, that was the live show. That was great watching you try and faff around with computers, and you come on to talk about AIs. I thought that was quite fitting as well. But thanks, Jeremy. That was great. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you so much.
But yeah, it was good talking to you guys, and I will see you all soon.
See you later, Jeremy. Thank you very much.
Bye for now.
Bye. Again,
what a guy!
What a guy! Now we're hitting like just over 2 hours, and just
nearly after dark.
Just to finish off of that fantastic interview, we also have the results of the Killer Comics After Dark, Not Quite Mint After Dark crate. Now, 6 people messaged either myself or Tom and sent us what the code word was going to be. Now, they were Fuzzy Dunlop, Comic Cursed, The Poptimist, Triple G, Stormcore Collectibles, and Wakey Box as well. Now, what I've done, I've just tried to preload it. So there we go. Hold on. Share screen, window, Chrome tab. There we go. Wheel of names. So I've already loaded these 6 names into the random wheel of name. And because there's 6 people, I'm going to shuffle it 6 times. So we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And
I didn't know you were counting, Croydon.
Yeah, funny guy. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to click spin to win. Let's have a look. Who is the lucky one going to be? And it is everyone's favourite shuttlecock. It is Fuzzy Dunlop. Now, there we go. Fuzzy, you are the winner of the After Dark Killer Comics crate.
Congratulations.
So, Fuzzy, if you can get in contact with me, give me your address. I'll get this sent out to you Tuesday next week.
Very cool. Great
And
prize.
It's been another awesome show. Massive shout out to you guys. Massive shout out to the chat. One more thing, Ben. I just want to talk to you about your new weekly Monday show that you do, because this week's was pretty good. But I'm going to give you the solo screen so you can talk about it.
Thank you very much. He was nearly going to cut me off there, but I only came and sat here for 2 hours so I could plug my own show on Monday. 8 p.m. live BST, of course. And on Monday, I'll be joined by none other than my Killer Comics crew brother from another mother. It is Tom Malin of Not Quite Mint fame. And the movie that we are going to discuss is Daredevil. 2003's Daredevil, starring Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner. So do join us at 8 p.m. BST, and we will be asking the question, it's not that bad.
Or is it?
Is it?
Is it?
That'll be hey, that's the rhetorical question that will fill an hour of your time on Monday night.
That is going to be it. Tom, what have you got coming up for us, sir?
I am going to be on Ben's show live on Monday talking about Daredevil. And also, we've got a couple of things going on Not Quite Mint. So you spoke about it at the start of the show. So we've got the Slaughter Crate, which is out at the moment. Well, it's not it's for pre-order at the moment. Comes out in October. We've got the Ultimate Fallout Crate, which comes out in September, which you can pick up. And I'm running the Miles Morales 10th anniversary bundle pack, which is only available for 24 hours. It won't be available after tomorrow. And that's purely because there's a few books in there on final cutoff. So if you let me know in the next 24 hours that you want one, you get 18 books that come out in September, and then you get a free book that comes out in October. Happy days. And it's £55. I know it sounds a lot, but you get 19 books and it's free postage.
You can't.
It all works out, guys. It all works out.
Friend of the comic Killer Comics show, David Nakayama, does the 10th anniversary cover for Captain Marvel, and it is a stunner.
Is it the one he posted on Instagram?
It is indeed. That is part of that bundle, and you can actually buy it separately if you want to. But with the bundle, you get, I think it works out about 50p off per book. So,
well, there we go. And Andy, what have you got coming up, sir? This is
If anybody would like to go to my Instagram, I've just dropped a link there. I'm looking to get to 750 followers, which would be pretty cool. I'm posting a lot more regular on there because I'm not doing the YouTube thing at the minute, apart from obviously being here. That would be great if you could share it with all your friends. I know all those pop fans have lots and lots of followers, and I don't care if my followers are organic. I just want lots and lots of followers. But no, guys, can I just take the opportunity to thank everybody in the chat? It was fantastic. We've got 26 thumbs up tonight. Superb. Can't say thank you enough. And say thanks to these guys who all make my Thursday just that little bit better. The Killer Comics show is getting bigger. We're growing as a team. We're doing different things, and none of us are going anywhere. So come along for the ride, guys.
It's going to be great. We are looking forward to this. And I do have to shout out Wakey Box. Yeah, you guessed correctly. You did get free. So I'll get something into your post. You just drop me a DM and I'll send something out to you. Yeah, all right. There won't be no blunders next week because I can't keep doing the giveaways. As you can see, I've already given away all my comics. So I've got nothing left. So that's how many blunders I'm getting a week. So drop me a DM and I'll get something into your post, Lewis. No, not a problem.
In Charlie's defense, his blunders are because the guy is stupidly busy all of the time. I mean, I think I'm busy, but this guy's busier than me. So, yeah, I mean, you got to give him some kind of leeway.
Oh, look at that. I'm not sending you anything, Tom.
No, I know. Well, you got to try.
I've got to try.
I mean, I am trying to get a reach around at Thought Bubble. So.
You'll get one of them. It's fine. It's all right. And can we just touch on the Funko Pop that Andy, ever since I've known him, has been after this pop. He's been after it. I think for the year and a half I've known Andy, he's been after this pop. And I'm just going to keep talking because I can hear him shuffling drawers. So he's obviously trying to find said pop. And it is. Andy did get a banging pop this week.
Boom, boom, boom.
I'm going to make you solo for this one, Andy.
I've been after this for a very, very long time. I love some Judge Dredd. I love this thing. It's even in its own little special plastic tomb. and I love it. And thank you to A Place in Space for making all my dreams come true. I was a pop collector for officially 33 minutes as I searched for this, and I've now retired as a pop collector. So thanks very much, guys. It's been emotional.
You see, that's all it takes. That is it. And yeah, again, that's another showdown. That's another Thursday. I hope we brought joy, excitement, and anything else that you wanted from us on a Thursday night. We certainly enjoyed it. You guys in the chat make it every single week. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, I guess we'll see you next week, next Thursday, same time, same place. It might be 3 of us. It might be 4 of us, depending on what Tom's up to. But hopefully you'll get us 4 misfits all back again, giving you the stuff that you really don't need. But as always, guys, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next week. See you later.
See ya.